Begin transmission. Hello, everybody. It is Chris and the crew here of Milton and Ben for episode 164 of Outer Rim Transmission. We are back here today. I'm going to give my short mini review of the 11 episodes of season 2 of the Young Jedi Adventures, and we're also going to play some catch up, talk about the news stories, because last week me and Ben broke it down for about an hour and a half of what is coming out from Disney and Lucasfilm at D23. So definitely get Milton's 2 cents on that, because it's been several weeks since we had him on the show, since we caught up. So subtitle catching up with Milton, I guess you would call this episode as well. But yeah, might as well get things started here. Milton, it's been a while. How you been, man?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I've been away for a minute, vacation, family stuff. I actually got engaged. It's
All right,
crazy.
there we go.
There we go.
Congratulations,
Yeah,
man.
yeah, thanks.
It's awesome.
So your boy will be getting married, so I'll be adulting. But yeah, so I've just been busy with like vacation and work and just like things going on the weekends with family. So other than that, though, I really can't complain. Except for obviously working, because who actually wants to work in life? But other than that, though, I'm good. Just ready to be back on a podcast and talk some Star Wars with you guys.
Yeah, so I know things might be a little bit out of the way as far as a date or anything like that, but do you think you would see yourself doing anything kind of with wrestling or Star Wars related to your wedding reception or anything like that at all? Whether it be music, something, I don't know. Have you thought about it?
Yeah. Right. Well, before I answer that, if you hear any knocking in the background, it's my neighbors. I don't know what they're doing. So if you hear knocking, please forgive that noise, whatever's going on, because they're being extra. To answer your question, it's funny because I joke with my fiance about this all the time. I'm a huge Roman Reigns fan for wrestling. Obviously, those who watch the podcast, I went to WrestleMania, and so I joke with her and said, for the reception, I would love to come out to like the Roman Reigns theme and just do the ones and hold the belt up. But of course, she's not going to go for that. Again, I have time to convince her. I don't see us doing nothing super extra, but I can see us tying in like something funny like that, and maybe doing that for like a rehearsal dinner or something funny into that nature. But honestly, we have to sit down and plan it. I mean, at this point, we're just trying to enjoy the moment, enjoy that we are engaged. Really communicate with our families about how much they mean to us with this process, and eventually sit down and actually map it out. But if we do anything regarding Star Wars or wrestling, it might be something little, nothing too extreme, because I know that's a very important day for both of us.
Oh yeah, it's good. The one wedding I went to for my one close buddy, he came out with the throne room music at the end of A New Hope. I was like, wow, I did not expect that, but okay. Again, I was like, maybe I shouldn't have been surprised, because me and him always chat Star Wars and all, so I was like, yeah, that's cool. Right. And it's always fun to see like people inject a bit of their personality when it comes to things that are definitely serious. I mean, that's the biggest moment of your lives, probably, for the most part. So it's like, all right, we got to pay respects, but also let's make a little levity here, a little lighthearted at some
Absolutely.
moments.
Absolutely. I can see, honestly, if I can probably convince her to do like something for the reception, like the intros of the wedding party. I think I can probably get that in my favor. Just because because I've seen that before. I've seen like my one buddy, his name is Chris, actually, at his wedding 10 plus years ago, he had all his groomsmen and the bridal party come out to wrestling themes with their people, and it was pretty funny. And I actually have a belt, so I plan on at least bringing that if we're gonna do like a wrestling theme, just to be like, I'm the world heavyweight champ. Pretty much like she's my championship that I won. But yeah, if we're gonna do it, it'd be something to that nature. And if it's Star Wars related, yeah, it'd probably be the theme songs. Maybe we come out to the Across the Stars
oh wow
theme to like from the reception piece. I mean, it's just got to be cute. We got to make it work. We got to be able to map it out appropriately. But again, we'll see.
Oh yeah. So with all your traveling, I know you've been driving a lot, and maybe have had some time to be at a lake or ocean, wherever it was you were. Did you get a chance to listen to any podcasts, any audio books at all in your leisure time for the last week or so?
I I mean, yes and no. So I know I'll go back to something that Ben actually sent me. I think a week or two ago. He sent me the the thing with at Lake Como. I guess like a
Yep.
couple got engaged or married there, or they did a honeymoon.
Yep. It was like
And
a honeymoon or something.
yeah, and I showed that to Amanda, my fiance, and I told her about it. And I mean, she agreed. She like Lake Como, Italy, would be kind of dope to do a honeymoon or something like that. So I think her and I are in agreement because we would love to travel to Europe or especially Italy. I mean, who wouldn't want to go there? And Lake Como is one of those beautiful shots in Attack of the Clones where it's like that's not CG, that's not a soundstage. Like that's the legit. That's Naboo. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So like even if we went to most of the shooting locations in Italy that they shot in for Phantom Menace, like that'd be pretty dope just to kind of do like a quote unquote like honeymoon there and just see those type of sites and really enjoy it. I mean, I'll be a nerd the whole time, so that'd be kind of fire. As for any books or podcasts, I would say nothing new, except for I'm still listening to the Prism series that they're working on with the Obi-Wan Kenobi show.
Oh,
They think they released episode 9. I want to say last week or the week before. And it was about 10 minutes long. I don't. Again, I've mentioned them before, but Prism on YouTube, they do a lot of the AI storytelling, and right now they have an Obi-Wan Kenobi series. So they have Ewan McGregor obviously being Obi-Wan Kenobi. They have Pierce Brosnan playing his
what?
father, Kento Kenobi. They have some nobody playing his brother, and then obviously old boy from Jedi Survivor. Oh my God, what's the character's name? The lead character in
Wait,
Jedi
Cal
Fallen Order.
Oh,
Kestis?
Cal.
Yeah, Cal's in it.
Oh,
Star Killer's in it.
oh my goodness.
Uh, who's the black character from Obi-Wan Kenobi? The lead Sith or
Reva.
Reva. She's in it. Like they do a good job at. This is what Obi-Wan could have been
Huh.
or should have been. So I mean, they're about 8 to 10 minutes long. Check them out. They're really good. But I've been listening to those episodes, and always go back to listen to those whenever I want to like just kind of reminisce about a good story. So I would say that's probably been my biggest piece when it comes to actually absorbing Star Wars content in the last week or so. And
Hmm.
obviously listening to you guys when I'm not on the
Yep.
podcast.
All right. Well,
Right.
yeah,
Now,
we
now,
appreciate it.
I guess while we're catching up with Milton here, like you said, we've had so many things come out in the last week or two since you've been on and everything. Of course, we have to ask, what do you think of the upcoming next Star Wars show? Like, what do you think of the Skeleton Crew trailer? Like, initial
Yeah.
reactions,
Um,
impressions, etc.
yeah, so I did watch that trailer.
Mm-hmm.
It looked fun. It
Yeah.
looks like it could be a fun show. I will say Jude Law. I didn't realize he was going to be a Jedi. I didn't get that sense from like all the promotional stuff prior to the trailer. Um, but I guess he's going to be a Jedi. And now, when is this? When is the Skeleton Crew show? What's the time period?
This is probably right around time Mando, because if you
Yeah.
Oh,
see,
he's
there's the guy
okay.
Vane, the Klatooinian.
Yep.
No, he's not Klatooinian. He's a Nikto. That was the guy that ran away from Mando and the weird looking vine pirate
That's
guy.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
yeah.
the
So
People article said between Mando 1 and Ahsoka, so like it's like a
okay,
3 year that time spot.
okay, yeah. But I thought the trailer was it did its job, and I've said that a lot of times because most trailers are
Hmm.
supposed to, like, especially that first one, it's supposed to show you just enough to get you interested in the show. I think Skeleton Crew did that. I think that trailer pretty much stood out to say, hey, this is what we are. This is what we're trying to accomplish for the most part. It didn't give us too much, which I liked. They didn't give us story plots,
Yep.
story beats. It just showed that this show could be fun. My only thing was, I believe there's a lot of shots with the kids or whatnot. I'm still trying to figure out what are they all about. But again, that's my only negative per se. But again, I don't know anything, so it's not really a negative I want to really say it is. It's just like, okay, who are these kids? What are their purposes? How are they going to tie into Jude Law?
Hmm.
Because I feel like Jude Law is going to be essential. Like, you don't hire that type of actor to just show up for an episode or two. Now, I mean, of course they did that with Carrie Ann Moss and The Acolyte. But again, if Star Wars knew better, you don't hire a heavy hitter like that, internationally known, to just show up for an episode or two.
I know
Yeah.
the funny thing about Jude Law, I'm not sure if you guys saw, he had an interview. It I think it might have been over the weekend or a few days prior, but he got interviewed recently, and he was getting asked about his role for this show, and he said like if he described at all what his character was doing or anything about them, Jon Favreau would like send people from Disney to like drag him out of the interview immediately. So you know, they're being completely cagey on it, which is interesting. But yeah, like I agree with you though. I think it has some good potential though. Like, and you know, I think the thing, I'm not sure if you got this vibe from the trailer at all, Milton, but like I think my biggest takeaway really from it was like it looks like it's a good kind of like resetting, like palate cleanser.
Yep.
Like we've been dealing with all this Acolyte stuff and Andor or Mando or whatever stuff. Like it feels like this is kind of like almost like a pseudo reset, like kind of to ground zero. Like, hey, this is just like a basic adventure Star Wars show, you know, that sort of thing. Like it feels like kind of like a palate cleanser from like what we've been getting lately.
Right. No, I agree. I mean, and look, all the shows that we've seen over the past year and some change, like they have been significantly serious per se. Like Obi-Wan, Ahsoka, Acolyte. Those are shows are really diving into, you know, the Force, you know, the time period that we want to know more about, whether it's after Revenge of the Sith, but also post Return of the Jedi, and especially those characters that we love, those legacy characters. I consider Ahsoka a legacy character just because she has ties to Kenobi and to Anakin. So now looking at this show via that Mando universe, even though it's not touching Mando directly in a lot of ways, I guess I just want to just speculate that for now. That's okay. Like it's okay to have something a little refreshing, something that steps away from it, but it's still in that universe that will eventually tie in.
Yeah, like what you said about the tone. I think tone means a lot right now. As you mentioned, like a lot of serious things happening with Star Wars and just the idea that we're going to have this show over here, which is basically the heart of Star Wars, adventure, action, but we're seeing it through a lens of of children. And we've seen a little bit of that when it comes to obviously the Phantom Menace with Anakin Skywalker as the main character. So that's what I keep hitting home with, is just the idea that, hey, this is what George Lucas always envisioned. He said it so many times recently, especially just like in the last several years, like Star Wars was meant for 12-year-olds. These kids look like they're about 12 years old. So let's see how dangerous the galaxy, let's see how vulnerable younger people are to this galaxy that I think a lot of times we take for granted. Like, oh, it's Star Wars, like everything's fine. But no, this is a dangerous place. And can you imagine if you're a kid that gets lost in the vastness of space? And that's essentially what this is all about. So for me, I think this is a great way to kind of go forward.
No, I agree. And even like, I guess to piggyback off your comment, like George has always said, these movies, this content's for kids. I get that. And I truly respect that, but they're also for adults too. I mean, look, we're all in our 30s. You know, at the time in 1977, you know, those kids at the time were, you know, between 6 and 10 who were going to see this movie, and then obviously their parents watched it. But we grew up with these shows. We grew up with these movies, and I feel like, you know, as an adult, it's okay to say I like Star Wars. It's okay to like something that's a little less heavy. You know, so I do want to like be clear on that, because a lot of times, you know, we've had fans who say, "Oh, this is too childish," and some of it really is. Like, no, obviously you watch the Young Jedi tales. That is strictly meant to be for children. You know, that's you should have those things with any IP. But you look at Clone Wars, people can say, "Well, that's animation." I'm like, "Well, that show's very adult as it continues to grow." You know what I'm saying? Like Rebels was maturing. And I remember when that show came out, I'd have been in my mid-20s when Clone Wars came out. I guess I'd have been 2008. So I'd have been probably 21 when that came out. Can't believe that show's been out for that long, which is insane. But like, I was 21. Yeah. So again, like I grew up with that show. And so I was in my mid to late 20s whenever that show ended. So it's like, that's insane. So it's not just for kids, it's also for adults who really enjoy the property, and we matured with the show as we've gone with it.
Oh yeah,
and with the property.
Well, just the storytelling just matures. I mean, you see it from like the different tones. I mean, look at like Rebels. I mean, admittedly, Rebels season 1, I was kind of like, I don't know how I feel about this, because it's kind of, you know, a little too light-ish, and then, you know, it just progresses. Or like, even I remember back back during the fall or over the winter time or sometime, I sent you a clip from Clone Wars, Milton. I was like, holy crap, dude. Like, I saw it on Instagram. I forgot about the scene completely when Darth Maul's trying to get Kenobi out, and he's like, the slaughter of the innocent. And he literally, it cuts and you see kids playing, and it's like, holy crap. This was on Clone Wars. Like, I completely forgot about that scene. And, like, it's crazy to see, but that was later in the show. That was like season 4 or season 5, not season 1. Like, it lets the audience grow as the characters are growing, which is a nice progression, really. I mean, look, we kind of seen that with like Bad Batch recently. Like, we've seen Omega's character grow, and all the characters grow in that show. So, like, it's nice to see that, like, continual progression forward with, like, the Star Wars storytelling.
Yeah, and when it comes to all of this here, what's nice about Star Wars right now is the idea that, hey, not everybody's gonna love everything, and that's perfectly fine, because we are in this day and age where we get so much Star Wars. So it's like, hey, if Young Jedi Adventures aren't your thing, that's great. The kids can enjoy that. Maybe you'll like Andor more. If you don't like Andor, you'll probably like Mando more. Maybe, like, there's so many options now. I think people are just so hell-bent on every release. They think it's like 19, or they think it's like 2005 all over again. Like, every Star Wars release is so treasured. And I think we just got to get past that point still. People have not really woken up to the idea that, not everything is going to be made specifically for you. It's not the end all be all. There's always going to be Star Wars. We're going to be dead, and we're still going to be making Star Wars. So it's just something you have to come to grips with. And, if you don't like something, you don't have to go on the internet and criticize people about what they like. You just say, okay, I didn't like that for this, and this reason. It's not just because of, these people that made it are stupid. Like, you just say, okay, that wasn't my cup of tea, but I'm waiting for the next best thing that's coming out. So that's it.
I mean, I'm about to say, because I feel like what's another IP that's been around longer than Star Wars? Like Doctor Who, for example.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like look at Doctor Who. Like, I've never watched an episode of Doctor Who. I've seen clips of it, but I do know after, like, from social media, from whatever, that's still a very popular series. They brought it back so many times. It's been around for what, 50 plus years or something. I could be a little bit wrong, but
you're right.
There's always different Doctor Who's. I've seen people online debate about who's the best Doctor Who isn't, what season was good, what isn't. Like, that's okay. And I'm sure every season or every Doctor Who isn't for everyone, but for some reason, Doctor Who still is popular in 2024 as it was when it first came out then. Except for the internet wasn't around when it first came out. So a lot of the voices back then who wanted to voice their concerns couldn't do it. They probably had to write in a newspaper, even if they even cared. But it's like, it's okay that things change. Now, with that being said, if you blatantly change a property just because you want to prove a point or be weirdly political about it or be goofy, that's a problem. Make the best property or make the best thing. Don't try to be weird to put some moral obligation with it. Just make the show the best you can.
Yeah, I mean, we just seen right before D23, Bob Iger did like a 20-minute sit down with entertainment, and it was on camera, actually. It was on, like, their YouTube channel, I believe. It was entertainment, like ET, and they it sounds like since he came back into power at Disney, like, the big thing, like, it sounds like the company line that, like, is their new motto. It's like, they're putting entertainment first now, and that's, like, he kept reiterating that, and like the stories, like, those are, like, his top priorities, and, like, just seeing, like, that coming back to the company, it's just nice, like, getting that direction for Star Wars again, and, like, Marvel again, because, like, Marvel had its ups and downs as well over the last 4 or 5 years, and now it feels like that's getting back on track, like with Deadpool. So, like, I just think it's nice to see, like, on paper anyways, I feel like Star Wars has a good outlook, like, a Skeleton Crew with the stuff, little bits we've heard about Andor, and then even the Mando movie stuff, with the stuff we've been hearing about that, and, like, leading up to that, like, I feel like they're heading in a positive direction, I would say. It's just a matter of time, really. I mean, look, we've even briefly talked about it last week, Chris. Like, them just having a public-facing front of, at D23, instead of, like, Kathleen giving the whole presentation, it was Diego Luna for Andor. It was, it was Dave and John for the Mando movie. Like, you know, so you
Mhm.
have it. It feels like they're really I think they're really trying to turn the ship toward that whole mantra that comes from Bob Iger, which is nice.
Yeah, I think it's basically at this point quality over quantity.
Yep.
The other Bob was more concerned about just bumping up the Disney Plus numbers, which means you have to feed the machine, which means you need content every 4 months for every property. Well, we've seen kind of the effects of that when you're rushing out stuff, you know, Book of Boba Fett, stuff like that just doesn't really hit well. And then that's worse than if you actually get people to wait like maybe 6 months for a better quality show. Like, you're better off just making people wait a little bit longer, as we keep predicting. Like, we're probably going to get one live action show a year at this point, maybe one animated show a year, but then we're going to get one movie a year, it seems like. So things are definitely changing. I'm just curious, like, how long is Bob Iger actually going to be running? Didn't he get extended for like 2 years or something? Like,
I think it's through 25 or 26. It's like it's 2 or 3 years max, though. It's not like a big 7-year extension. It's like 2 or 3 years, I believe.
I'm very
like,
curious about,
you know, which to me it sounds like that's kind of like him coming in being like, hey, let's try to right the ship, you know, basically. Because, like, you know, when he left, you know, things were good. And then, you know, when, what's his name? Alan Horn took over. Oh, Bob Chapek. Yeah, Bob Chapek took over. You know, things just kind of went completely off the railroad track. And now, you know, I think also part of Bob Iger, you know, coming back, gosh, here we go, Outer Rim Bob Iger edition. But, like,
yeah, that's all right.
I really do think part of it, is like his own legacy, like, because, you know, when he left, he released that biography, you know, and he left arguably as one of the greatest executives ever, and then his whole company just kind of like fell apart. And, you know, what would be a better, you know, almost obviously, like, you know, he's making great money, but, you know, for your own legacy and stuff, what if you come in and write Disney parks, you write Star Wars, you write Marvel, you write whatever ABC properties and different things Disney owns, like, you know, I think that's a big part of it. And it's nice that it seems like, you know, just to like kind of shift it back to Star Wars, but like, it's nice that it's seeming like it's kind of, you know, transitioning, like it's helping. I really think Star Wars is heading in a good direction. I mean, look, you see it on their social media. Their social media is engaging with just random people positively, which is nice. Like, because before they would just, you know, go and just post press releases pretty much, and that was it. And now, you know, they're really active. So it's nice seeing, it's really seeming like the company's changing, and like it's changing for the better for Star Wars.
Yeah, we have Chris Forsyth in the chat saying I'd be happy with one live action, one animated, one movie. Heck, one movie every 2-3 years, I wouldn't mind. Yeah, I'm kind of with you on that. I feel like after Rise of Skywalker, like 2 or 3 years could have gone by and I still would have been fine. But we're at that point where it has been like, it's going to be like 5, 6 or 7 years when this other movie comes out. I'm like, okay, yeah, I could have used one a little bit before that, but, you know, keep the specialness of the cinematic theater experience, making fans wait a little bit longer to kind of build up the hype again, because I'm very curious about, I know this show we're doing right now is a little bit kind of going all over the place, and just stick with us here because there's not a lot of news, so just naming it off the front. Actually, technically, we're still in our week of Star Wars, but this is how this show is going to go. So just bear with us, everybody. But it's basically like, oh, I'm very curious how this movie is going to look. Like the promotion for a new Star Wars movie for the first time in like 6 or 7 years. Are we going to get like the big toy launch like they did at Toys R Us, Target, and all that? Well, unfortunately, Toys R Us is basically gone, but at least in the United States it is. But or Disney store launches in New York City and Times Square, like I went to the one time. Like, very curious about that. I mean, that could be a whole episode, obviously.
Right. Well, I mean, yeah, and I think that's a good point. So when did The Rise of Skywalker came out? That was the last movie, right?
2019.
So we'll have basically, if you hold the date right where if Mando movie does come out in May of 26 and doesn't get pushed to like December or something, either way, it's going to be a 7-year gap between the last movie.
Right. Which I think is good though, because then obviously with the sequel trilogy, and again, this isn't us bashing it. Sequel trilogy, especially those last two, were very mixed. I think all of us here, most fans can agree, Force Awakens was a great jumping off point because it was reinvigorating the franchise, bringing us back to Star Wars.
Yep.
And so I think that particular movie set it off right. Those last two movies kind of didn't do it for a lot of people. It is what it is. No hatred here. What I'm saying is, I think now if we get that 2026 date,
Yep.
or Ben, so
Yeah,
if we get that
it's-
actual
yeah,
date
but-
sitting there,
Yep.
that is about a 6 year, 6.5 year window wait for that film. I'm okay with it because then that's kind of saying, okay, we've kind of got the movies out of our way, out of our
Yep.
system.
Yep.
Now let's rehype the train. Let's get back to the Force Fridays or whatever.
Yep.
Now what I have noticed about Star Wars, and I'm glad we brought this up about the movies and the launches and whatnot. I was just at Ollie's Toys or
Oh.
Ollie's Bargain.
I heard about
outlet the
this
other day.
place.
Great store.
Yeah,
it's over by you too, huh?
There's all over Pennsylvania. I think it's a Pennsylvania store that was started in our state. Now to think about it, but they're the company that gets all like the toys that aren't really selling and all the extra stuff.
Oh,
I see a lot of Black Series figures
What?
at these Ollie bargain or
I have
outlets.
to check it out.
Now I don't know if they exist in Ohio. Do they, Chris? Or
Yeah.
do they, Ben?
I have one
Okay.
20 minutes from here.
Yeah, literally, there's one like 5 minutes in my town. Have you seen all the Black Series toys and all
Yep.
like the Mandalorian stuff?
Yeah,
Now, this is
ours
what I-
has
this is
them
my,
too.
this is my yep, this is my point. I feel like if I'm Disney or Star Wars, and they've done this with Marvel, they need to do a better job at their toy production because I think they overdo it. I think they overdo it because I'm seeing a lot of like duplicates of Princess Leia Black Series, old Han Solo Black Series.
How many Ray figures?
Ray figures. I just whole bunch of Mandalorian or no Grand Inquisitor figures. I mean, those aren't really hitting the shelves. I think they're just wasting a lot of money. So I think for their marketing, they need to be more exclusive moving forward with their toys. Make it where people actually want to get these figures, and don't produce so many.
Here's the
I
problem,
think
though.
I think that helps their market.
I walk into like any other regular Target or Walmart and I never see anything. So it's like there are people apparently, I guess, buying the stuff, but it's just
Yes.
it's all the ones that people don't want, I guess, are ending up at that one. Yeah.
Yeah. So here's an example. Now I'm sure they're in New Jersey. I'm sure they are. That store is in New Jersey. So you have to just look it up.
Oh, it is.
I'm
It's
sure you
like
can
10
find
minutes
it.
down the road. My mom talks about it
So
all the
next
time.
next time you go there, Rick, next time you go there, go into Ollie's. Just go to the toy section. You're going to see anything and everything. And it's the stuff that's not heavy hitters. Like I saw a whole bunch of Eternals figures. I'm thinking I'm never touching
What?
those. Oh, I kid you not, dude. Now you got some of the people that would buy them. But that's
Yep.
my problem with Disney and Star Wars and even Marvel's like y'all overproducing things that aren't really heavy hitters. Let's try to scale that back to try to really focus on the toy market in a way that's going to make collectibles cool again. That's going to make them like exclusive.
Yeah.
That's just,
I think what it is the secrecy of Lucasfilm and the timing of the release of the action figures. So what happens is like they just half the time, like when Grogu popped up, they'd even like Hasbro didn't know until we knew. So then they had to fast track making Grogu figures, and it took them like 3 or 4 months to get them on the shelf. So I think Lucasfilm needs to start like just letting loose a little bit. I mean, Star Wars is not like it used to be anymore. I just told you guys about how it's losing its specialty kind of thing because it's the specialness factor because it is not just movies anymore. They're constantly putting stuff out. So I think they could let go of the secrecy just a little bit to at least let these people print stuff ahead of time. Have the figures out when the trailers come out. Don't have the figures come out 2 months after the movie or the show is out because people don't care anymore.
Well,
yeah.
the thing is,
So here's my thing though. would you overproduce though? Like that's my issue with this. Like, so if you got Skeleton Crew, I don't know how popular the show is going to be. I assume it's not going to be as big as Mandalorian. But like I remember when we know when Baby Yoda came out, everybody wanted it.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody wanted it. So I think a figure or a toy like that should have been more like an exclusive one to get, in the sense of you don't overdo it where it's like you devalue it. I think you still want to drive that. If I'm Disney and Star Wars, say, hey, we still want to drive that product. We still want to drive that character. That's my issue with all these extra figures that I'm seeing all over the place. It's like, oh, they're just too much.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I think the big thing that Star Wars has going for it positively, at least in terms of like all of this stuff, is, you know, like you were both kind of saying, and especially you, Chris, when you were talking about like what they're gonna do for like for like the Mando movie coming up. You know, like they can go back to the well of Grogu, of Din Djarin, of, you know, whoever's going to be in the movie, and like you guys know, you know, they're going to lean so hard into Pedro Pascal and Grogu in the marketing. It's not even funny. Like, you know, and also if you guys didn't see the other day, he slipped up and accidentally called him Baby Yoda, and he was like, "Uh-oh." He was like, I better not say that again. And like, you know, he's like, we're not supposed to say that. But because he, you know, he was just talking casually, which it was hilarious because you know how he is in interviews.
Yep.
But like the good thing that's going for that whole movie, I think, with like the production, with like the toys, potentially the marketing, I think the biggest factor that's completely overlooked. I was talking. This was going to be actually kind of my week in Star Wars. Actually, we're 40 minutes in getting to my week in Star Wars, but
there we go.
But I actually was talking with my cousin from Germany who's here. You know, he's a huge Star Wars fan, and shout out to him. He listens to the podcast. But he, you know, me and him were talking, and he brought up a really good point to me. So the thing is, like, and you know, it's honestly been overlooked, I feel like, by a lot of fans. Even me, I overlooked it until he brought this up to me. So, you know, we've said so much about this movie, like, oh, Mando and Grogu, you know, they'll be popular, yada yada yada. You know, it should do good because it's their flagship thing. But the one factor that's overlooked, my cousin brought up, is the fact that Jon Favreau's doing it. And like, you know, of course, obviously Jon Favreau's doing it. But like he was telling me, think of it this way. You know, Jon Favreau is the guy who sparked off the MCU. Like, he's the guy who, like, set that movie into motion, like, really hit it off to, like, get the whole thing going again. Like, actually, not even going again, to get it off the ground.
Yeah.
So, like he said, you know, there's a lot of Star Wars fans who are grouchy about Star Wars right now, but they're overlooking the fact that this is the guy who started the MCU. Obviously, you have Kevin Feige, but if Iron Man doesn't work, if that movie doesn't work, the MCU doesn't work, like, or it just doesn't really get jump started. So it's like, yeah, maybe, like, I don't know, Favreau's gonna find his kind of way to like bring that cinematic feel to Mando and like really spark off the Mandoverse in terms of like, you know, the cinematic side of things. And it, you know, my cousin brought that up to me, and I was like, oh yeah, this is gonna be my week in Star Wars, because like I think that's a big factor that's really overlooked. Like I never thought of it from that angle, that, you know, that's the guy who started the MCU basically, and it's like, hey, I mean, hopefully he can do that with Mando.
Yeah, well, in a sense, he already has, right? In a sense, he already has with Mandalorian Season 1, right? Getting into it, getting Filoni on board, getting all those directors, Bryce Dallas Howard, Rick Famuyiwa. They got the whole team of the creators over there. But yeah, I mean, what's to say about the future? I mean, have either of you watched Deadpool and Wolverine?
Yeah, I just watched it yesterday.
Oh, sweet. We'll have to talk about that. Yeah. But what if it's that big? What if it makes over $1 billion? I'm pretty sure it's going to. It's the first Star Wars movies back, and it's Mando.
Yeah, about to say, if they it all comes down to story and execution. We know the characters, we love the characters, so I think that's already a given. Mm-hmm. I think it comes down to story, execution. How does it tie into the bigger picture? Because again, correct me if I'm wrong here. Is this movie is going to tie in with, you know, Grand Admiral Thrawn and Ahsoka, correct? Like all that
Probably.
stuff. No.
Well,
wait, the movie?
We're not sure exactly. Like, well, because you know, at the end of Mando 3, like he's pretty much kind of like
he's
retired, kind of retired. So like, I don't know, my 30-second idea for the movie, I feel like it's probably going to be the route of he's retired, gets brought back in, and then maybe by the end he finds out about Thrawn. That's kind of like my train of thought, but it could be totally off.
Yeah, so I mean, and again, it could be where they end the movie that way, but overall though, it's all about execution of the story, you know, keeping the audience engaged, making it feel familiar, but also expanding the story in the universe. If they do that, and they do the traditional Star Wars route of telling great stories and making our imaginations like want to go back for more, then yeah, it should be $1 billion film. I mean, all the Star Wars films for the most part have hit that mark, except for your couple in between, like the
Solo.
solos, that type of thing. But again, Star Wars is not a property that won't be watched. Let's be real here. It's
But
just,
yeah.
can they continue to bring the audience back and keep us invested? And now I'm not talking about us sweaty nerds. I'm talking about the average person who knows of Star Wars through their mom, through their brother, through their cousin, like us. Our extended family who aren't fans like that. That's the audience they need to bring back for a second or third review or viewing.
Well, with that movie, I mean, the big teller of it will be, okay, obviously your fiance knows you love Star Wars, but you need it to be like when they show that first initial big trailer, it needs to be a situation where she sees it at work and then comes home and goes, Milton, oh my gosh, we got to see this movie. You're gonna love it. And Baby
Yeah.
Grogu looks so cute in the trailer. Blah blah blah.
Yeah.
That's what they need. They need the person that's
Right.
not us to tell their relatives, let's go see it.
I agree. And that's the thing too, because look, she knows who Baby Yoda is. She doesn't know it's the name. She's
Yep.
never seen Mandalorian, but she's seen that character. So you've already done something right there where you brought in someone who's a non quote unquote Star Wars fan like that to say, oh, that's cute. I want to see more of him or her. So I think if you can get people like, my fiance to be like, hey, I want to see this movie. Just a great example would be Deadpool and Wolverine. We just saw it yesterday. I don't know if she's seen the first two. No, she has not. But she really enjoyed this movie.
Oh.
Only thing about it, she didn't really understand a lot of the references, like
Okay.
the 20th Century Fox jabs. The jabs at Disney about keeping it rated R. Chris Evans being spoilers. Chris Evans being Johnny Storm. Like the little inside baseball stuff. So
Yep.
you have to get, if the trailer does its job, it should then tell a non-regular Star Wars fan, oh, they're in a TV show I've heard about before. Let me go back and watch that to get ready for the movie. I mean, imagine how they're going to really snowball the audience if they get people so good with that first trailer and say, I need to go back and watch the first 3 seasons of Man.
Yeah, it's kind of a great idea in a way that I don't know if we've ever seen anything like this quite. Besides WandaVision and Doctor Strange and Multiverse of Madness, I feel this will have a bigger event. Like having a movie where you have to do kind of the homework of watching a series on the stream platform. It's kind of a brilliant idea for Disney. Like, obviously, they're a multi-billion-dollar corporation. They want money. That's the main primary goal. We got to keep that in mind. It's not for the entertain us. They are business to make money. They're going to siphon people from the trailer to be like, oh, we should sign up for that Disney Plus thing so we can watch that cute Yoda show before the movie comes out. Like, I can see a lot of people resubbing. Disney's going to be all over their earning reports going, we've had a 200% increase in subscribers at Disney Plus thanks to the Mandalorian and Grogu. Like, they're going to be touting that from the ends of the earth, and my whole thing is, I think the number I estimated was very, very low when I said $1 billion. I'm talking if it makes like $3 billion, like let's say if this thing is more popular somehow than The Force Awakens, or at least like in that same ballpark area of like top 5 grossing movie of all time, are we going to just start suddenly seeing more Mando stuff? Maybe they'll be like, okay, we were going to end it with the Dave Filoni Hair of the Empire subtitle, working in progress title movie. But let's keep it going, and then they're gonna start announcing more movies now. I don't know where it goes. Is it
Here's the thing, though. Here's my response to that, and this might be unpopular. I'd say, don't do it. Just build off of it, because it's easy to focus on like that one hitter of okay, Mando. And again, if it's $3 billion, and it would be the easy response, I get it. Let's make a sequel to that. Totally understand it. Now, I'm looking at Marvel's side of Disney. They could have easily kept making Iron Man movies and Captain America movies like with Robert Downey Jr. and Chris Evans. But however, they just built on those characters to help expand out their universe with the 4 Avengers movies, Black Panther, all them, like just build on the momentum. So I think that'd be an opportunity to say, okay, we got that $3 billion franchise right there with Mando Grogu. We got that audience that have already seen it. Oh, let's bring in Ahsoka to make a movie with her, tie her into the next movie. or let's bring in a movie to actually let's build up Boba Fett again. Let's make him right and feature him in another movie. Kind of like bring him in not as a solo act, but and intertwine him like they did with Black Panther. Because let's be real here, nobody knew who Black Panther really was until they brought him in the Civil War, and everybody loves him now. You know what I'm saying? Like,
oh yeah, I'm a huge
only people that
example
really
of
knew
that.
about Black Panther was for real. Only people that really knew about Black Panther, I'm just come out and say it, were hardcore nerds and people of color because they always rep with black superheroes. You know what I'm saying? So like nobody was riding on T'Challa unless you looked like me or you was a hardcore nerd.
Yep.
Now everybody was all about him when he came in that first movie, and then boom, both his movies have been fire.
Yeah,
So you could do that with Boba Fett.
Yep, I'm a prime example of that. So I mean, for me with Marvel, I'm a very, very surface level. You know, whatever movies are out, I that's how I get my comic knowledge. I haven't really dove into the lore of that stuff at all. So like Black Panther was totally new for me, and after that movie, and then after his movies, now he's in my three favorite Marvel characters ever. It's Iron Man, Spider-Man, Black Panther. Like those are my top three. Like because they did his character so dang well, and like you said, if they do that with Boba Fett, like. Because the good thing is, the good redeeming quality of Boba is like obviously the season was what it was, but like I rewatched it a month or so ago, and the end of it they do have an out at least because Boba literally tells Fennec, I don't know if we're cut out for this, so there's your out right there. Like,
it's about to rule Tatooine.
Great way to lead into, but yeah.
Oh man. So yeah, there's some opening thoughts on our week in Star Wars. 42 minutes into the show here. I have a couple ones because as Bill was talking, I remember him telling me about how he listens to like Duel of the Fates and other things at the gym that are Star Wars.
Oh yeah,
dude, I ran into somebody at the gym that literally said the same thing, and I just told him, I was like, dude. My buddy Milton literally says the same that this one guy that I'm friendly with works out constantly, good guy, and he's saying like I don't know how it got up to the beat. Maybe I was wearing a Star Wars shirt one time, and ever since then, like every day or something, we're talking Star Wars and real quick things. And anyway, we're talking about Padawans and Force sensitive people. I'm giving him all this knowledge anyway. So one day he's like, yeah, do you ever listen to like Duel of the Fates or anything? I was like, not me personally, but I know people that do. So there you go. You're not the only one. There's many of you out there.
It hit, man. I'm telling you, like literally, like when I run on the treadmill, and I'm listening to, let's say, music or watching an episode, like I got my go-to Star Wars videos. It's usually the Duel of the Fates music video. It's the videos I sent all you guys about like the trailers that people are fan made and all that type of stuff. Like I've listened to those. Like it's dope. I listened to the Gallius Rax speech with the Anakin Dark Deeds music behind it. It's fire, bro. Like it just gets you hyped where you're like, okay, like you're just gonna push through it and get you in a mindset of like, oh, I'm there. Like, I'm watching old boy give this speech. Like, I'm in that universe. Even though I'm tired as hell on the treadmill, yeah, I'm going still. I'm not stopping. So, I love it. Like, that is dope.
And last night I went to, actually 2 nights this week. I got a lot of Star Wars gaming in this week. Friday, I did a draft for the Shadows of the Galaxy Star Wars Unlimited card game. Really fun stuff there. Just the 4 of us just playing with bounty hunters. I had a Cad Bane deck with a bunch of underworld guys in it. Very thematic, doing bounties and putting people, marking them for death marks and everything, taking them out. Really cool stuff there. Then the next day, came back, and it's literally been probably 6 months since I picked up a Star Wars miniature. And the reason why is because they just revamped a lot of the rules. Like, you might as well call it like a 2.0 update for the one miniature game, Star Wars Legion, which is the one that has the armies of guys you guys see me post, like, or it's like squads of characters that you move around. That game. So I brought out the good old boys of the 501st Legion, and I proceeded to kick serious butt because I was using ARC troopers, I was using Anakin Skywalker, I was sniping people with Echo. Like, the rules that changed into the favor of the Galactic Army of the Republic really went my way because I felt the power of the few but the powerful. And that's the Republic as the ultimate freaking trained force of the galaxy. Like, they're the clones. These guys were bred to kill and take names, and it's just like absolutely awesome. So had a great 2 nights here, just playing, and the community here is always a lot of fun, chatting Star Wars as we're playing, different things like that. So there you go. There's my little anecdotes of Star Wars recently. As far as things that came out this week, we had The Edge of Balance Volume 3, which is a manga, which is the second to last one I think we're getting for the High Republic. The next one comes out next year at some point. And we also had the penultimate issue of Darth Vader for the run in between Empire and Return of the Jedi. And when I say it's epic, it is absolutely epic. Vader, Luke, they're interacting kind of on the periphery, because we know they meet obviously in the next movie, and they have the big moment of the conclusion of the Skywalker saga at that point. But absolutely awesome. I was on there with Matthew Nugabar on this Star Wars Underworld podcast, as we often are. So if you want to get into a deep dive of all the details, spoilers, and everything, you can get into it, because there were some seriously cool, shocking moments in that one. We have 1 issue left of Star Wars. We have 1 issue left of Darth Vader. But well, actually, Star Wars comes out this next week, and then it's got 1 more issue. So we are getting to the point where the comics are going to meet up with Return of the Jedi. Wondering if we're going to see Luke build his green lightsaber. He's been wielding the yellow lightsaber that he found at a High Republic temple for the longest time, so I'm finally excited to see him ignite the green, as we used to say back in the day. So, yeah, that's the catching up on all that. And real quick, I did watch the Young Jedi Adventures Season 2. They had some shorts that came out a couple weeks ago. I breezed through those, and, these episodes are what you expect. All right. Yes, I am not, again, the target demographic for these episodes, but what I will say is I can totally see my 8-year-old niece and 5-year-old nephew really enjoying these. I, for a fact, know they enjoy these because they've watched Season 1 already. So I'm going to tell them, okay, you got new episodes, guys. You can watch now. And they're going to be running around like maniacs with like sticks or something, with pretending they're lightsabers after watching something like this. Because there's a lot of cool stuff. I mean, we have... It's par for the course. You got your 2 episodes. Every single episode has 2 parts. They're completely different from one another. This is not Bad Batch. This is not Rebels. There is not one ongoing story. It's literally like 12-minute episodes, 2 every episode, and they just go around. Interesting things, we have a new character named Wes, who is actually a Padawan. Remember, these are younglings. They're not quite Padawans yet. They don't have a master, but we do have this guy that's running around helping them out. He's actually learning lessons from the kids, which is there's a lot of great themes. It's like any Pixar movie. When you watch it as an adult, you can get some things out of it, and kids just really love the action. And that's kind of what you get. Quintessential Star Wars when you look at it. And, really great colors. I feel like the colors really pop on the show. They are very bright, very vibrant. Even though this is technically set during a dark part of the Star Wars galaxy, because there are the Nile that are just ravaging the Outer Rim, just basically enslaving people and killing them. We have these nice little lighthearted adventures of kids going to the market to buy things and just finding creatures and documenting the creatures like they're from Pokemon Snap or something like that. So got a lot of good stuff there. 2 big characters of note actually showed up in these episodes, and it's actually one of them's Huang from Ahsoka from Clone Wars. I actually forgot to look up if he's actually voiced by what's his name, the actor from Doctor Who. Oh my good, David Tennant. I don't know if it sounds like him. I think it probably could be David Tennant. I mean, why not? He's voiced him every other time. But the one Pubian Jedi, which is the little blue guy with the hair, he discovered an ancient lightsaber that belonged to an ancestor of his, and you actually get to see what a Pubian a Jedi fully grown looks like, and they actually look pretty threatening. I was like, whoa, I definitely want to check one of those, like see one of those in a future Star Wars. Like, it looks like just like a big polar bear Jedi. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's like almost like a Wookiee. It's pretty neat. But they showed him, and then Maz Kanata showed up in the last episode. Now we know Maz Kanata has already been in the High Republic. Actually, she even goes back way further than this, because she shows up in Phase 2 of the High Republic, and you have the character of Sav Maligan, who is a Kyozo, sorry, the same kind of person as Embo. She's doing missions for Maz, who still has a castle way back then on Takodana, but still, it's cool to see a sequel trilogy character from The Force Awakens showing up into something that's like 200 years before The Phantom Menace on screen. So there's a lot of goodness there, obviously. Watch as you will, because this is not meant for people, that are older than like 15 or whatever. But I had fun watching it. I had it going, finished it in a couple days, just a couple episodes a day, just basically it. So
I'll say I know I have a 2-year-old niece, and I know she probably won't be able to watch this yet. Because she's still on her Bluey phase, and all those little shows, and like Miss Rachel on YouTube, as they should, because they know how to target those kids and keep their attention.
Yep.
So would this be a show like if my niece, because I eventually want to get her involved in Star Wars, so I would probably say 3, maybe 4 years old, to get her to watch this.
Definitely. Honestly, she could probably watch it now. Really, I think like it's actually
smart kid. Like he pays attention.
Exactly.
Like when they put Bluey and stuff on, she sits there. So I think I have to just convince my sister, but because it's not violent, obviously. So I'd be like, hey,
No.
like, this is actually for kids. This is actually the kid property of Star Wars.
Yeah, there's actually a bit of redemption in the story. I'm very surprised, because the last episode of season 1 had the one kid that has the helmet on all the time actually gets unmasked and actually has vulnerability to him. And that this next season, the same character is now like befriending the main Jedi younglings, and now there's like a new band of pirates that are led by Trandoshan, and the Trandoshan was grooming this other younger Trandoshan to like be part of the pirate crew. There is some serious like, wow, okay, they're actually doing like some stuff that is more intellectual and a little deeper than just surface level, which I expected from this show. So I got to give her credit for that. I think it was due. I don't know if it won or not, but I'm pretty sure it was nominated for like the daytime Emmys at one point or something like that. So
yeah, I was really surprised. I actually watched the first episode of the second season, Chris. Because my 3-year-old niece, she actually just watched it the other day. Because when they were over here, my sister was my 3-year-old niece loves playing with any of my Star Wars stuff, like my lightsaber, my Luke lightsaber I have laying over there. Of course, Baby Yoda, and just like any other little things. Like, she was fascinated. I found that little Jawa Sandcrawler micro machines from like 1995 or whatever, and she was fascinated with that. So my sister was like, "Oh, is there anything like Star Wars you could show her?" I said, "Well, maybe she'll like this Jedi Adventures show my friend Chris was talking about." And we put on the first episode, and she just sat there on the couch drinking her bottle, just watching it, just smiling and just watching the show. And she seemed to like it and stuff. And it was funny, because I was sitting there, I was just scrolling on my phone, like just half paying attention to it, and just scrolling, and like they even throw in like some little Easter eggs, like the little references. Like, I like how they said in the first one, like the moons of Iago.
Yeah,
like that. I love that they name drop that, because that's like what Anakin talks about, like to Padme and Phantom Menace. So I was like, oh, cool, like. Little tiny references like that for like parents or older folks that are with the kids watching it, like who are Star Wars fans. You get those little tiny like location name drops. So I really, really liked that about the first episode. Actually, that was probably my favorite bit of it as like a older Star Wars fan. It's cool just getting like, even in a younger audience targeted show, it's still cool getting like those little references. Because when that character said that, I literally said something about it. My sister was like, "What's that mean?" Or "Why are you happy about that?" I was like, "Oh, it's just me being a hardcore Star Wars fan." But it's cool. It's cool just getting those little name drops. So I didn't mind the first episode, actually.
There you go. There you go. You'll have to pick it back up. You'll have to pick it back up. Be that uncle that is just shepherding them into the way, into the way of Star
Oh yeah,
Wars.
I mean, my 1.5-year-old niece, man, she literally carries around Grogu the entire time they're here, like
Whoa.
all the time. She just picks it up and carries it around because she's so happy. Like she'll go and she likes to take him and set him on the shelf or the table, or she goes and puts him outside in our sunroom, sitting on the hot tub or whatever. Like she's always carrying little Grogu around everywhere, so it's always funny.
Yeah. So yeah, I definitely give her a recommendation. Anybody out there, especially with kids, enjoy it. It's fun, and like I said, this is only the first half. We're gonna get another. Like I would assume another 11 episodes, maybe more, maybe less, sometime next year. So be on the lookout for that. But I think with that, we'll begin to wrap things up for this week on Outer Rim Transmission. Milton, where can the people find you? I know you're excited for the football season to begin. I know you'll be talking a lot about that in the coming weeks. So where can people find you talking about that, man?
They can find me on X at Milton Weber 7 or on Instagram at Milton 7 Weber. Again, usually on Instagram, I post a lot of like just funny memes, sports stuff, a little bit of my life personally on there. And then on Twitter, I tend to just repost like funny stuff, currently making fun of the political climate in our country because it's ridiculous. I laugh at all of it. I have no loyalty to either side. I just post all that stuff just to be funny. And I just post like funny like sports stuff and like pop culture things here or there. So, but yeah, check me out, follow me. I tend to if you engage me, I'll engage you back. Just keep it positive because I ain't trying to wreck nobody. I ain't got time for that. I'm too pretty for jail. So, yeah. Other than that, though, hit me up on social media, and I appreciate y'all listening and watching it.
Oh man, it's been good to have you back, man. Good to have your input. Me and Ben will hold down the fort as we do, but it's always great to have you on. So thanks for coming on once again, Ben. Where can the people find you?
Yeah, you can find me on X and Instagram at Real Ben Maynard. I'm always on there talking about Star Wars, fitness, or Madden, and about it really. I mean, at the moment, so it's been good, and as you said, it's great having you back on, Milton, and congrats again. And yeah, it was a fun time. It was a fun time when we had really nothing to talk about, no any news stories, so it was good catching up.
That's what it's all about. We can keep a tangent going and just keep it going as a snowball goes down. I mean, we went from talking about action figures and the necessity to have certain characters to if Mandalorian will end up being more of a movie franchise than a serialized television streaming franchise, and everything in between to junior Star Wars TV shows. And it was one of those scatterbrained episodes, but they're sometimes the funnest to talk about with the sheer amount of variety that we could just start discussing. So yeah, it's been good. It's been good. Next week, we're going to have a pre-recorded episode, so you'll be able to watch us the same time at 7 p.m. on Sunday. We're just going to have pre-recorded because I'm going to be out for the weekend, but the content will still be there. Unfortunately, I guess you actually can comment on the video. It's going to be in Premiere format, but I will not be able to respond to you, or us talking heads will not be able to respond to you. So just be aware for that. And I didn't mention it off the top. We are a podcast as well. So we would love for you guys to get some engagement over there by listening to us on anything like Spotify, Apple Music, and anything else. Please let us know. If you can't find us on any of your podcast catchers, I'll try to figure out how to best be listened to everywhere around the world, because we certainly do have people. Like Ben said, we have listeners all the way in Germany and Canada. I know for a fact that at least I have 2 or 3 Canadians I can guarantee listening on the show. But that's going to do it for us here at Outer Rim Transmission for episode 164. We'll see you here next week. For Milton, for Ben, for Chris, a.k.a. Starrapter, that's going to do it for us. May the Force be with you always, and transmission.